Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Travel Escapes. I know most of us are eagerly waiting to get out there and get on a plane and start traveling again. So we really appreciate you taking some time this afternoon and joining Julie and I on our little webinar series where we're hoping that we're keeping the travel dreams alive and giving you something to food for thought, I guess, on where you want to travel to next. We've been showcasing some amazing destinations and experiences from around the world, and today is another fantastic day. I'm Rhonda Smehan, the leisure manager at Paull Travel, and my beautiful co-host, Julie Bekdashe. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Rhonda, and welcome everybody.
Thank you again. As I mentioned, it's great to see all of you partaking in our little webinar series. And I see today we have some new viewers, so welcome. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to all of our repeat viewers. We really appreciate all of your feedback and your kind words. And, I know Julie and I, we love hearing from you. So by all means, anything you have to say, even where you might want to see a showcase next, please let us know. Definitely. So for our newbies and maybe our past visitors as well, as a reminder, we record all of our presentations. So if you've missed any over the last year, please visit paulltravel.com/webinars, and all of them are listed there. So you can have your pick and view. Enjoy, I hope. Next week, we're actually not going to be featuring a webinar. It's Canada Day, so we're taking the day off, but we will be returning the following Thursday, which will be July 8th at 4 p.m. And we're going to be seeing what Vegas has to offer us when things start opening up. So please watch for the email on that where you can register. So today, oh my gosh, today honestly is one of my favorite South American countries. I like everyone that I visited to, but this one really is quite amazing. One of my favorite areas that I had a chance to visit, and it's been about 10 years ago, I think, when I was there, was Mendoza. And I know the wine, yes, the wine. In honor of that, I have a little glass of Malbec. That's very famous in that area. So it really is a must place to visit. It's so lovely. And it is, you can see with my background, right in the base of the Andes. Oh, it's so spectacular. It's really a lovely little jewel of a place to visit. So that for me really stands out. And of course, Buenos Aires. I know, Julie, you've been, but what amazing city. The vibe of that city, with it being really, they say it's like the Paris of the South, that European, South American feel to it. Love the city. It's so much there. The food, oh, the empanadas. I'm actually
Yes.
salivating thinking of the empanadas. It's so good. Yeah. And I don't know, Julie, I know you spent a lot of time in Buenos Aires. Did you take in any tango? Like, I did a tango class, which I recommend to all of my clients to do. Even though the husbands don't want to do it. It's a must-do thing. Did you partake?
We didn't do a class, but we went to a performance and it was outstanding.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. So we're really excited about today. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box or the chat box. Again, like I mentioned, we always love to hear from you. We'll make sure by the end of the presentation from our amazing guest today that all your questions get answered. So I'm going to just turn this over to you, Julie, and you can introduce our fabulous guest.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rhonda. So today with us, we have one of our preferred companies. And I know we've talked about this before, but they're on location specialists. So they're the hands and feet in destination. So South American Tours, they've been operating since 1973. So they really know all the ins and outs of the country. They specialize in South American countries. And with us today is Magdalena, and she's been with them about 5 years. And I should say that this company, they exclusively work with travel agents. So when you come chat with us, we find out all about, what you're interested in doing. And then we connect with South American Tours and put together an itinerary that's tailored just to you and your interest in what you want to do. And Magdalena is going to go over some of her favorite spots and little hidden gems today that they can only recommend because they know it as they're on the ground. So Magdalena, just a little bit about her. She's joining us from Buenos Aires, where she was born and raised. She took German and English in school, and she graduated from hotel and tourism management. And then she did a little bit of traveling, working around. She worked in Patagonia for a couple seasons. She worked in Florida at a resort. And then, her heart just drew her back to the city, back to Buenos Aires again, where she's been for about the last, I think you said 10 years. But so good. I'll pass it over to you to share your lovely presentation with us.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Rhonda, and hi to everybody. Like Julie said, I'm here in Buenos Aires, our beautiful capital city. So I'm just going to share all my knowledge about Argentina, which is my home country and that I adore. And hopefully I can transmit that love to you as well, and you can visit us. I prepared a presentation for you today. Okay. Argentina is a quite big country, especially for South America. We have different regions. Mainly it's the north, and you can visit the north part of the country and Buenos Aires, our capital city, all year round. Then the central region, which is mostly for more regional tourism. And then Patagonia, which is, of course, world-renowned. And being such a big area, we actually also have divided into different smaller areas as well. Considering the seasons that we have for different regions of Argentina, the recommended season to visit our country is between October and March. We have the beautiful Northwest region, which is different provinces like Salta and Jujuy. This area has a geographical landscape which is shared between Argentina and Chile, Chile and Bolivia, which is the Altiplano or high plateau. Then on the northeast of our country, the gem of that area is the Iguazu waterfalls with a more tropical weather and like a jungle landscape. Buenos Aires, well-renowned city, our capital city, with a lot of nightlife and great food scene as well. And then in the Patagonia area, in the northern Patagonia, closer to the Andean range, we have the Lake District with Bariloche as the main hub to visit that area. Then on the Peninsula Valdés, that it's on the Atlantic coast. It's like a wildlife destination. And then on the southern part of Patagonia, glaciers are the ones that are the most important tourist attraction that we have in there. And then the southernmost city in the world, which is actually Ushuaia and Fireland. So about Buenos Aires, that's my hometown. We can visit it in different tours. Being a quite big city, we usually recommend to have first like a tour of the southern part of the city, which is more related to how the city started. That's where the wealthy families used to live like 150 years ago. After a yellow fever outbreak, they all moved to the northern part of the city, and they just looked up to Europe and especially France. So that's why you can see a shift in the architectural style, more like a French style. Actually, they brought all the parts for their, like the wealthy families, for their palaces from France, and they just put all the buildings here together. So it's quite interesting to see this. While the southern part of the city, it's more related like with the popular culture and tango. One of the hotspots in this area is actually Caminito, which is the photo with all the colors where the Italian immigrants used to settle. So that's why they didn't have a lot of money. They were like workers, and they just took from all the paint shops the paint that was left, and that's why they just mixed all the colors. But that's a great plus, because nowadays we can enjoy that like joyful part of the city. That's our government house, Casa Rosada, because of its color, which is like a pink color. 9 de Julio, or 9th of July Avenue. You can see the obelisk right there in the middle. It's one of the widest avenues in the world as well. And in November, the great thing about it, as you can see like a violet color. It's because of a tree with its flowers, and it blooms in November. So that's why in November in Buenos Aires, it's like a dream. All the main avenues are lined up with these trees. So it's great to see that. Again, Caminito, as we discussed, one part of La Boca neighborhood, which is in the southern part of Buenos Aires. While the northern part with Recoleta neighborhood, as I explained before, they have like the influence in the architecture. It's more like a French style. Most of these palaces that used to belong to the really wealthy families in Buenos Aires, they house now like embassies or government buildings. This is one of my hidden gems, let me tell you. It's called Barolo Palace. The architect was inspired to build it in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. And that's why he organized the architecture of the building in like Inferno, Purgatory, and then Heaven. Yeah. We're gonna see further along the presentation a picture from the rooftop, and you have beautiful views from there. For the ones that dare a little bit further, you can actually climb like a stair, quite narrow stairs, to the lighthouse they have, because there's an identical building as this Barolo building, but in the brother city of Montevideo, on the other side of the Rio de la Plata, that's in Uruguay. And it's the exact same building, and they also have like a lighthouse. And when it's really like great weather, you can see the lighthouse of the Palacio Barolo, which is called Palacio Salvo in Montevideo town. A little bit of La Boca and San Telmo, neighborhoods from the southern part of Buenos Aires. San Telmo, it houses a lot of antique shops and a lot of street art and street musicians. A lot of tango is danced, like tango couples. They just dance on the streets, and they entertain all the tourists that visit our city. Mate is our national drink. Mate, it's prepared with a leaf from a plant that it's called yerba mate. It has like a green color. They compare it with green tea because it has like an astringent, like a dry taste. It's easier to drink it if you've never tried it. And it's completely new for you. It's easier to drink it with a little bit of sugar. They just put that straw, which is a bombilla, it's a metal straw. You don't stir it, it's forbidden. Like mate etiquette forbids that. And usually one person prepares it, just pours like warm water just to soak a bit of those leaves, and it hands it over to one of the people sitting in a circle and sharing. You just share stories, share your day with friends, and you just share the mate. That was before the pandemic. Nowadays, we don't share that anymore. It's just one mate per person, just to keep safe, okay? Hopefully, soon we will be able to go back to that, I believe, a really cool way to share with friends and people you love. Tango again, you can enjoy tango in the streets in Palermo or La Boca neighborhoods, or there are a lot of tango houses, some of them quite old, or at least what we consider old for our country, quite traditional ones. Then back to the northern part of Buenos Aires, this is Recoleta Cemetery. It's famous because a lot of personalities from our history are buried here, like Eva Perón, well known for Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, of course. Quite controversial. People either in Argentina, they either love her or hate her. And that has to do with political views. And also the architecture of this cemetery is quite great. So, and quite a lot of funny stories with ghosts and everything. So if you're keen on that, that's a great way to visit part of the area, part of the city as well. Food, well, the famous asado or barbecue, that's the way we call our barbecue. Argentinians are quite serious about how to prepare that. And like families have like their designated parrillero, they call it. Parrilla is the grill where you prepare the asado. So parrillero is the person who is in charge of preparing that. Mate, an asado, it's what we actually enjoy related to food. But Buenos Aires has a great food scene, and that actually translated also in the past, let's say 5 or 6 years, in a great food scene in other parts, in other provinces and other main cities from Argentina, which is great. And not only international food, but also local chefs discovered that what differentiated us from other countries and what made us interesting, of course, is local ingredients and traditional dishes that we actually forgot that we had, and we wanted like Japanese food or French food when we actually had great things here. So it's a great thing that they rediscovered it and they are showcasing that as well. This is one of the most traditional cafes that we have in Buenos Aires, which is called Café Tortoni. And its whole history had to do with local personalities from literature, politics, music, with tango as well. And local kids, for example, like myself, I used to live in the suburbs, and it was like a dream when my parents said, okay, this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, we're gonna explore the city. And our prize, if we behaved well, was we call submarino, which is a hot chocolate. They just bring you like a cup of warm or hot milk, and you just throw the chocolate inside there, and you just see how it melts and everything. So it was like the best program that we could have. Viejo Almacén is one of the most traditional tango houses for a tango show. And then for those who really want to experience how locals experience tango, we have other venues which are called milongas. They are usually not in very touristic areas of the city. They start quite late because Argentinians, we are used to, nightlife starts quite late here. Nobody eats before 8. If you're a local, nobody eats before 8 or 9. So that's why these milongas, which usually happen after you have dinner, they start not earlier than 11 or 12. So if you can manage to stay awake, then it's a great way to really see the dynamics of these places. You have like very traditional tango men that are with like hats and their suit, and they just invite women in a time when we usually would just like dance alone. That's like a novelty. Teatro Colón, which is our opera house with one of the 3 best acoustics in the world. And they have also in the basement area, like 2 levels where they have their own workshops, where they build their own scenery, costumes, shoes, everything. So it's quite amazing. Another tour that we offer just to go a little bit away from town for a while in the suburbs or the outskirts is the Tigre Delta with different islands, and it's a great nature spot. You just take, you can take like a speedboat or visit one of the islands and just spend the day there and have lunch and enjoy a little bit of nature and escape a little bit from crazy and busy Buenos Aires. Another great way to experience our culture, and especially from the region where Buenos Aires lays, which is the Pampa region, is to visit one of the estancias or ranches. The one we see, it's a gaucho. Gaucho are our cowboys, or let's say the modern version of the gauchos. Having so much land and a huge country, they used to ride like a lot of days just to accompany the cattle that they had to bring from one ranch to the other. And so it was like really long journeys. And that's what made them, for example, they drank mate because that way they could just like, it gave them energy, something warm to drink, and they didn't have to stop that much to prepare something to eat, for example. So it kept them during the journey. Empanadas, like Julie and Rhonda told you before. The most traditional ones are the ones with a beef filling, but that's one of our like fast foods. When you get together with friends and you don't want to cook, you just like call one of the empanadas and pizza restaurants and you just order your favorite empanadas. Dulce de leche, which is our main sweet. It's like milk caramel, and we prepare like different desserts with that as well. And then asado, again, barbecue. It's one of what we enjoy the most. Now, there's, as I explained before, there's a great food scene, new food scene. One of my favorite spots in Buenos Aires, it's called Baqueano. Baqueano is a local that really knows an area and shows you around. That's what actually Baqueano means. And this is like a poetic way to explain what they do in this restaurant. They just took like very traditional dishes from our culture, food culture, and they brought it like to modern world. For example, this is their version of choripan. Choripan, it's like a sandwich with chorizo, a traditional or typical Argentinian sausage. And in this case, this is brioche bun and with a sausage like a lamb sausage. Like I said, these are all the chorizos, and this is like a new modern hotspot that I love, which is called chori. Everything has to do with the chorizo, as you say. And they prepare their own. And also morcilla, which is a sausage it's a blood sausage. Argentinians, we are quite used to experiencing not only with like beef, but other parts of the cow as well. This is another hotspot that I love. It's called Puesto 53. That's in the San Telmo market. Before the pandemic hit, a lot of new markets were about to open up in the city, just like other international cities that discovered that they could just put back again in value local markets that they had, and visitors would like to visit and see how it works and what locals eat. And their main attraction here is another sandwich, which is milanesa. Milanesa is something that we eat in our houses. For example, our moms, they just prepare that on a weekday dinners. And it's like a beef cutlet covered with breadcrumbs and usually deep fried or in the oven for a more healthy version. They tried, after different tries, they came up with their own version, which is grilled actually in the parrilla, and that gives the milanesa like a smoky flavor, which is quite great. Like a hidden treasure that I have in Buenos Aires, it's called El Ateneo. This is a bookstore actually, but they built it in an historical building that used to be a theater. That's why you see that they have those great ceilings and those great paintings and those balconies. So it's a great way that you enjoy that beautiful architecture and that beautiful building while you drink a coffee and you just read a book. Another hidden spot that I love is Palazzo Garolo. I told you about that before, which was its architecture was inspired in Dante Alighieri. And from their rooftop, you get to see a lot of the historical buildings that we have in the city, and the great skyline as well. So one of the most important destinations that we have in Argentina is Iguazu with its waterfalls. It's actually shared between Argentina and Brazil. So that's why it's great to visit both countries, or both sides of the border, just to make sure that you get all the great views of this wonderful, it's actually one of the natural wonders in the world. You have like an upper and a lower circuit, and you get to experience it also with navigations. Just make sure to bring your rain poncho because you will get wet, that's for sure. Tropical weather, you can visit it all year round. This specific spot is called Garganta del Diablo, or Devil's Throat. And because of the rock formation, it's like a horseshoe shape. And it's really, it's like deafening, the sound of the waterfall. It's just great. Great animals as well, tropical animals. There's ecological train to get to the Devil's Throat balconies as well. As I said before, you can just take like navigations, boat rides, and helicopters as well. Great wildlife. And this is another hidden gem that I love. It's a private reservation. It's called La Lorenza, owned by a couple. He's a biologist and she's a bird watcher enthusiast, let's say. And they really wanted to share that great place that they have for visitors actually, to enjoy that fantastic views. And they tell you about the mate as well. Almost all the yerba mate, which is the leaves that we use to prepare that infusion, which is mate tea, actually it's grown in around Iguazu Falls in Misiones province. So that's why it's huge in this area, and it has a lot to do with their identity and their culture. Another hidden gem are the Moconá Falls, not so well known as the Iguazu Falls. So that's why you get to really experience the jungle in small jungle lodges instead of huge chain hotels that you could find in other areas. Now with the Northwest, dry area, but that doesn't mean that it's not just beautiful landscapes and scenery. The colors here are amazing. We have like salt flats, cacti, very traditional little, like quaint little towns. And one of the few areas along with the northeast, where we have the waterfalls, one of the few areas where we still have like original people there and Aboriginal groups, while in the rest of the country, because of the way it was colonized, unfortunately, all those cultures got lost. While in this area, we still have that influence. One of my favorite tours to do there, apart from the ones where you get to experience the incredible landscapes, is with Celestina and other locals in different small towns and villages in this region. She really tells you about her family, her culture, the way they used to pass on all the like different uses of local herbs, for example, or traditional recipes. And she welcomes you in her home and tells you a little bit about how it used to be before the European culture actually arrived to this area. You can visit the main hub for the Northwest is Salta town. You fly from Buenos Aires, it's a little bit more than 2-hour flight. And then you have like circuits. You can either go from Salta to the north to Purmamarca and Jujuy, which is a neighboring province for the landscapes we saw before, or you can also explore from Salta a little bit to the south to Cafayate, which is the second most important wine region in Argentina. Like Rhonda told you, Mendoza is the main wine region, but with the decades, as decades went by, Salta and the Cafayate area positions itself like one of the really great wine areas as well. Mendoza, again, the land of food and wine. The Andean range, it's at one of its highest points in this area, Aconcagua mountain, with a little bit, like almost 7,000 meters above sea level, shows that mountains are present in almost every picture that you have from this province. The great thing is, I mean, the city is beautiful, but of course we consider that the best way to explore this area is to just sleep in one of the great wine lodges that you have in different regions or areas of the province, which is called Luján and Maipú are the most traditional ones. And in this past, let's say 10 years, another area, which is called Uco Valley, has been developing. And nowadays, the most important international, well-renowned wineries are located here. It's like the trendy new wine region in Argentina. Just be prepared to have a lot to eat and a lot to drink. It's like tasting menus everywhere, 5-7 courses meals. They are proud of their food and their wine. And the locals, they just want to host and show you everything that they grow and they love. And then with one of the biggest regions that we have is Patagonia, the northern part, which is the lake region. Most people compare it with Switzerland, of course, with some differences, but because of the architecture and the lakes and a lot of streams and rivers and the mountains, it's a great place to visit. It's one of the main ski destinations in the wintertime, but in the summertime, it's also beautiful. A lot of smoke, like different meats, beer, homemade beer. That's where it started. Nowadays, in Buenos Aires, we have a lot of beer places, but that's where homemade beer actually started. Chocolate, one of the inheritance of Swiss and German immigrants that settled in this area. It's where we started seeing one of the first dome accommodations in Argentina. In the past 3 or 4 years, they started to open different complexes mostly in Patagonia. This one, for example, is one of our favorite ones. It's called Huemules, in honor of it's like a variety of reindeer that we have in that area. It's like luxury domes, only 10 domes in a huge estancia with an unreal landscape, really beautiful. You really get to experience Patagonia. It's like rugged weather that changes all the time, and that raw nature. You get to do like adventure activities and experience Patagonian food. We also have barbecue in Patagonia, but they change beef for lamb, which is typical for all the Patagonian region. Then if you love wildlife, one of the main destinations in Argentina, it's going to be Puerto Madryn and Península Valdés. This is called Elefante Marino, penguin colonies all over. Punta Tombo is one of the biggest penguin colonies in the area. Then depending on the time of year, you have, of course, Ballena Franca Austral, which is the southern whale, and whale watching tours are organized. It's really quite impressive to be there. This is Punta Tombo, one of the most well-known penguin colonies, as I explained before. But one of my favorite spots and like a hidden treasure, I believe, it's called Bahía Bustamante Bay. It used to be an estancia that actually worked with algae, And that's what their main business was in the 1940s. And suddenly when that wasn't a great business anymore, all those constructions that they built for the workers, which is almost like a small town, they just needed to think what to do with that. So they turned it into a tourist estancia. The real luxury here, it's not in the buildings or the accommodation, which is quite simple, but the fact that you get to experience all of this wildlife that you could find, for example, in Peninsula Valdez, about 250 kilometers away. But when it's fully booked, this place accommodates 30 guests. So that's the real luxury. You get to experience penguins, sea lions, guanacos or llamas, ñandús, which is a kind of ostrich, just almost by yourself. And with great food, grown and organically there. Then the southern part of the Patagonian region, it's known for its glaciers. Calafate is the hub where you have to fly from Buenos Aires, almost 3-hour flight. And from there, just 80 kilometers away, it's the Perito Moreno Glacier, which is the well-known glacier of this area. There you go. It's a great glacier. It's one of the few ones in the world that it's still growing. That means that it's getting a little bit bigger instead of receding. And every now and then, like a special phenomenon happens, which is called ruptura or break. And it happens when the glacier advances and touches the Peninsula de Magallanes right in front of it. And then that means that one of the arms of the lake gets cut off. It's like a natural dam. Water cannot continue flowing. The level of that arm starts growing, and it pushes, of course, on the ice wall. And eventually it breaks, and it's a quite impressive phenomenon to be watching. But like everything in nature, there's no way of predicting it. So you just have to cross your fingers to be there in that exact time. But on the plus side is that they have like small breaks many times in a day. So it's like a really impressive spectacle to see. There are different tours that you can do. The traditional one to the panoramic balconies that you can see right in front of the glacier on the lower right picture. And then you have navigations as well. And also from Calafate, you can take other tours, mostly navigations to visit other glaciers. One of the most impressive ones is the mini trekking. That's what the tour is called. And it gives you the opportunity to actually walk on the glacier with special crampons, of course, in small groups. That's the result of the big break that I was telling you about. It forms like an ice bridge, which is quite impressive. They don't sail through that bridge. You just see it from afar because it's dangerous. And then about 220 kilometers to north from Calafate, still in the same national park, there's like the Argentinian trekking mecca, which is called Fitzroy. It's called Fitzroy because of that mountain that you see right there, which Aboriginal people, which were the Tehuelches, actually called Chalten. And in their language, it meant smoking mountain. Because most of the time, even if when you have like a clear sky, it usually has like clouds hanging on top of it, like a hat. So that's why they called it Smoking Mountain. There are different trekking trails. Most of the ones that you can miss, of course, is to really get closer to the Fitzroy or Chalten mountain. And further to the left of that mountain, you will see like other spikes, and those belong to Torre, which is the second most important trekking trail that you can take in this area. One of the not so well-known tours to do in Chalten, which I love, it's called Casamatsen, and it shows you how pioneers used to live at the beginning of the 19th century, when it wasn't that easy to get to Patagonia, like nowadays, that we just fly there and 3 hours later we arrive to Calafate, and then paved road from Calafate to Chalten. It didn't used to be like that. A few decades ago, they have to like row along the Santa Cruz River for 3 or 4 days with quite difficult weather. So it's quite interesting to see how they used to build their buildings, or just how they managed to heat their houses. And of course, they welcome you with something hot to drink and their desserts, specialty desserts. This is Calafate town, which is like quite quaint little town. And then finally, we arrived to Ushuaia, which is in Fireland. This is the southernmost province that we have in Argentina, and this is the southernmost city. A lot of cruise ships actually dock here, and a lot of the cruise ships that depart to Antarctica also stop here. They either start or stop or in this city. You may visit the national park. You can also take navigations along the Beagle Channel, which is quite well known, and see sea lions, penguins, the southernmost lighthouse, which is Les Éclaireurs, the train to the end of the world. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed it. Muchas gracias, which means thank you very much. And I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thanks, Magdalena. You could spend like, 6 weeks traveling around Argentina, I think, in order to see all the places that you recommended. Yes. So that was incredible. It's I spent time in Buenos Aires and then in Iguazu Falls, and just getting a little snapshot of the country. But Iguazu Falls is really something that you must see. I was telling somebody yesterday just about all the butterflies, all the colorful butterflies. You have to shuffle your feet because there's butterflies, big yellow ones, little metallic blue ones all over, but it's really, truly spectacular. Yeah, it's such a diverse country. We do have a few questions. If there's any more, feel free to put them in the chat. But Rhonda and I really want to do is bring on special guests to inspire people whenever they're ready to travel to go to different destinations. So I know there's a few questions right now, but I know Argentina at this time is maybe not the best time to visit right now in June. But if you don't mind just letting us know, what the situation is right now with, going through the pandemic, and also like what the economy is like, and what is the government like actually right now?
Well, regarding COVID and pandemic, it's a great thing that vaccination is slowly starting to pick up the pace, which was a great concern that we had, and that's why we are quite closed up to international tourism, mainly because of the Delta variation of the disease. But what the government is informing, that if things continue like they're going regarding vaccination, in about 1 month, things have to look a lot better. Actually, in this past 4 weeks, UTI occupation, which was quite an emergency, let's say, like with 80% occupation, has lowered to 59. So things are looking better.
Good.
And of course, we working in tourism, we're like desperately hoping for that, because we want to work again. We want to welcome guests again, and show them everything we have in Argentina.
Yeah, definitely.
And regarding the government, we have elections they kept changing it because of the pandemic, but primary elections in September, and November, elections for legislative power. And it's quite polarized regarding in regards to politics, with the ones that favor the present government and the ones that are like on the opposite sidewalk, like we say here. And Argentinians, as Latinos, and I have to say, we're quite passionate about everything. When we discuss about soccer, for example, oh my God, it's like everything burns. And about asado, he's the best asado maker, and you don't know anything. And with politics, there's no exception in that. So yeah, quite heated discussions.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Do you, you mentioned the area where people can go and visit the indigenous people that are still remaining in that area. I just have a question about what are the people called there, and what languages do they speak?
Well, that's the Northwest, which are mainly Salta, Jujuy, and Tucumán provinces. They speak Spanish, but then their like traditional language is the Quechua. They are called Coshas, and they are the same indigenous people that you can find in Bolivia, for example. And they were all colonized eventually by the Inca people. So that's why they speak Quechua, which is their language. Mm-hmm. But like the new generations, it was quite a struggle for the old generations to explain to the new ones that they have to learn the language, they have to be proud of their culture and their inheritance. And because mainly the way to transmit that they had wasn't a written transmission, but from like word to mouth. So from the old, from the grandparents to their grandchildren. So that's why it's important. And with great joy and pride, I see that in the past decades, after a lot of decades of like wanting to shut them down and thinking that only the good things come from Europe or from abroad or from other countries, thankfully we started to really value this indigenous people and what makes them and us and our country different to any other country, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then just one to touch on a question just about, again, like the government, what is the unemployment rate? Is it, because probably a lot based on tourism? So
yeah, it wasn't good before pandemic, and now it's quite worrying. Mm-hmm. Of course, this made everything worse. Some people say that what the government decided in the earlier COVID times, focusing on sanitary measures, you could understand why they decided to really close, like it was like a really strict lockdown, but it took forever. It took 7 months, no intermittent openings, and that was quite difficult for restaurants, theaters, gyms, and of course for our business. Actually for tourism, it's where, a lot of people are struggling. And this means like government plans that they like, subsidies that they hand to people, but that's like a band-aid. So a lot is being, we expected a lot from the government, and to see if the COVID situation gets solved in the next few months, okay, and then they have to do something about the economy. And about the huge international debt that we have. And we are not afraid of working. And Argentinians, we're used to working hard, but we need our government to support that and to give us the opportunity, of course.
Thank you.
So the unemployment rate, well, numbers, we're not quite sure if they are very accurate, official numbers. They say around 30%. Poverty, it's gotten really bad, unfortunately. So that's one of the main worries that everybody has. And it's quite sad if you think that in the 1930s or 40s, Argentina used to be like the breadbasket of the world. So to see that shift in less than 1 century, it's not great. But tourism has been one of the main pillars of our economy. We really have, well, as you've seen in my presentation, you have all sorts of cultures and activities and landscapes and climates that you can find in just one country. So,
and hopefully that will change, with tourism coming back, and once the world kind of opens up again, hopefully that'll change for your country, and more jobs will be created. from that.
Absolutely.
It's yeah.
And it's such, we wish you all the best. It's such it's a country. It's nice. The time zone is not very much different from ours here in Canada, in Western Canada. And the, direct flights from Toronto make it really accessible. So I think once it's time, you have a lot to offer, and people are going to be really excited to get back there and turn
The thing
around.
is that if you come with dollars, you're the king here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's such
a lot of work for your dollars, so that's great.
Yeah. So much, just so much to offer. Thank you so much, Magdalena. Did I miss anything, Rhonda, or did you want to add anything?
No, it was a beautiful presentation, and truly, I can't wait to go back. And I know a lot of our clients out there are the same. They can't wait to come and experience what an amazing country you have. So thank you for sharing your little insights and tips. Those are fantastic.
Thank you for being here and for allowing me to present my country. And we'll be waiting for you.
Yeah, we hope to get back there soon. Thank you so much, Magdalena. Have a great evening. Thanks, everyone. And we hope to see you again in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Okay, bye.